Senator Hanson.
Thank you very much. Well, again, it's all right to have a go at the Labor Party over the climate change and mention Labor Party, but you don't like to cop it back. And the fact is, why I'm saying this is that all the leaders of the political party had their say yesterday with regards to the Senator Faruqi's notice motion yesterday, but I was denied that right. I was denied the right because you shut it down. They purposely did it. And that's why I'm going to have my say today on behalf of the Australian people. And you're only doing it all the time just to run down the time, through you, the chair, because Senator McKim doesn't want me to get my message out to the Australian people. So they're using this all the time to shut down my time of having saying what I need to say.
Senator Hanson, I will ask you to resume your seat. Senator McKim, on a point of order.
193.3.
Sunday, One Nation senators and the member for Kennedy were the only members in this parliament who defied the far left and the mainstream media to stand with many thousands of Australians protesting mass migration. Yesterday, the hateful Greens tried to force the Senate to condemn these everyday Australians marching under their national flag.
Resume your seat, please. On a point of order, Senator McKim.
Thanks very much, Acting Deputy President. The point of order is relevant. Senator Faruqi needs to mount an argument as to why standing orders should be suspended. That is the motion she has put, and in fact she is not mounting that kind of an argument. She's engaging in a political attack which is not relevant to the question before the chair.
I would think on the surface, Senator McKim, that these speeches are always wide-ranging, but I will give Senator Hanson the opportunity to continue and monitor. Senator Hanson.
Thank you very much. Yes, wanting to shut down the voice of Australians because the thousands of Australians that were in unison together to stand up for their flag, their country and against mass migration. And the motion that was moved yesterday was disgraceful. They claimed these Australians were led by neo-Nazis and far-right extremists. They claimed these peaceful demonstrations were rampages and even claimed that the country will never be safe unless these everyday, normal, ordinary Australians were forced forever silence. I don't think anything illustrates the hypocrisy and ignorance of the hateful Greens better than their motion. They fall over themselves to encourage and attend protests in support of Middle Eastern terrorism.
Senator Hanson, I will ask you to resume your seat. Senator McKim, on a point of order.
Thank you. A point of order on two matters. Firstly, once again, on relevance. Senator Hanson is not addressing urgency and whether or not the standing orders should be suspended. Secondly, Standing Order 193.3, which prevents personal reflection on other members of this chamber. Senator Hanson is clearly in breach of that standing order.
Senator McKim, just to address your point of order, I don't see a problem, but what I will do for you is I'll consult the clerk. Thank you. Senator Hanson, you do have the call, but I would just let you know that if we dig a bit deeper and reflect on senators, then I will have to address that. Senator Hanson.
Thank you very much, but I never named anyone.
No, you didn't.
See, the whole fact is, it hurts when you actually call them out. And reflecting on the last comments, Senator McKim was quite happy to have, or the Greens are constantly having to go at One Nation all the time. But the whole fact is they're very concerned about this. They're delighted to join calls for the destruction of Israel. They deliberately ignore how these ugly, violent protests target Jewish Australians and have led directly to rising anti-Semitism in the country. And that's because they're supporting this disgusting agenda. When Australians exercise their rights to express their opposition to the Greens' radical far-left agenda, as they did yesterday, the Greens play the victim. It's because the Greens despise the very freedoms that Australians exercised on Sunday and want those freedoms taken away from the Australian people.
Sorry, Senator Hanson, I will ask you to resume your seat. Senator McKim, on a point of order.
Thank you, President. Again, it's 193.3 on reflecting on other members. You were very clear in your direction that you gave to Senator Hanson, saying that if she continued to do that, you'd need to pull her up. Well, she is continuing to do that, and I invite you to pull her up.
Senator McKim, I did listen intently to Senator Hanson, and I heard her refer to a political party. I didn't hear any senators that were named. And sitting in this chair for many times, I've heard many senators reflect on parties in this chamber without actually attacking personally a senator. Senator McKim, I don't see a point of order, but I will give Senator Hanson the call. Senator Hanson.
Thank you very much. Well, again, it's all right to have a go at the Labor Party over the climate change and mention Labor Party, but you don't like to cop it back. And the fact is, why I'm saying this is that all the leaders of the political party had their say yesterday with regards to the Senator Faruqi's notice of motion yesterday, but I was denied that right. I was denied the right because you shut it down. They purposely did it. And that's why I'm going to have my say today on behalf of the Australian people. And you're only doing it all the time just to run down the time, through you, the chair, because Senator McKim doesn't want me to get my message out to the Australian people. So they're using this all the time to shut down my time of having saying what I need to say.
Senator Hanson, I will ask you to resume your seat. Senator McKim, on a point of order.
193.3, Senator Hanson A has directly named me. Secondly, she has impugned a motive to my actions which is untrue, and I ask you to require her to withdraw that.
Senator McKim, once again, I don't see the issue you are raising, and you are, like myself, a long-time warrior in this chamber who have quite often good debates across the chamber. I didn't see anything, or didn't hear anything, I should say, from Senator Hanson that I thought would be out of order. I will go back to Senator Hanson to give her the call, and I just say that she has 2 minutes and 16 seconds left, so it's not long now. Senator Hanson.
Thank you. Well, it's horrifying how it must have been seen to them to see so many Australian flags on display yesterday in support of a strong, united nation. And the hateful Greens are deliberately misinforming and misrepresenting the Australians who marched peacefully on Sunday, and they have a gall to insult Australians standing for Australia. They've dragged out all of the usual tropes and insults to marginalise and dismiss people who love their country and who don't support the Marxist anti-Australian agenda being forced on them without their consent. Australians are still free to oppose the Greens and their radical agenda. Australians are still free to oppose Labor's record immigration, driving them into homelessness. Australians are still free to oppose multiculturalism and demand a society that is cohesive and unified. Australians are still free to fly their national flag, and I encourage them, put it out there. And however, I've heard the Australian Defence Force strongly discourage serving members from marching under that flag on Sunday. They're asked to fight under it, but discouraged from marching with it. The Greens just hate the Australians have these freedoms, so they lash out in hatred at people who exercise them. One Nation senators were proud to stand with ordinary Australians who have been silenced and disenfranchised and who just want to be heard and represented. The majority of Australians don't want Labor's record high level of immigration. I hope you realise that. They see the rents going up, the longer lines to inspect rentals, and they see the Australians forced to live in tents and cars on the streets. They see the protests in support of terrorism, and they see the Greens encouraging them. They see the good values which built and defended this nation being eroded before their eyes. They see the very character and identity of Australia being perverted. We want our country back. They want their country back. And as they said to me yesterday, and I was so proud to see that at least a member of Parliament actually turned up. Not by myself. I was accompanied by Senator Roberts and Senator Tyrone Whitten, who actually accompanied me. And the Australian people were so proud to see that we took the time. The others didn't turn up because, you know what? They know how much they hate you.
Mate, let me tell you straight up, what went down in Parliament the other day was a bloody circus. Not the fun kind with fairy floss and clowns riding unicycles. Nah, this was the type of circus where the clowns are running the joint, the animals have escaped, and the ringmaster's asleep in a corner with a taxpayer-funded latte. And right there in the middle of it, you've got Pauline Hanson, fiery as a bushfire in January, absolutely tearing strips off Albanese, Labor, and old Senator Nick MC Kim, like it was the last snag left on the Barbie. Before we dive into this Parliament meltdown, where Pauline Hanson tortures Albanese for ghosting the chamber and leaves Nick MC Kim screeching point of order like a broken record, smash that like button like you're shutting down another Labor cover-up. Subscribe if you're done with watching politicians play dress-up while Aussies are living in tents. And grab the Who Voted for This shirt, links in the description. Now I know what you're thinking. Yeah right, every poly reckons they're tough until someone calls them out. But this time, oh mate, this time was different. Hanson didn't just throw a jab, she went for the knockout. And watching Albanese's mob squirm was like watching seagulls fighting over hot chips. No dignity, no strategy, just flapping around hoping no one notices they've lost the bloody plot. And MC Kim? Don't get me started. He jumped up and down yelling, "Point of order," so many times I thought he was auditioning for Whack-A-Mole. Picture this. You've got thousands of Aussies out on the streets, waving their national flag, dead set, ordinary people, mums, dads, tradies, pensioners, all saying the same thing. We've had enough. They weren't smashing shop windows, they weren't starting fires, they weren't running riot. Nah, they were just standing together, proud, peaceful, and bloody loud. But the second that happened, the Greens and their mates in Labour started screeching like a cockatoo caught in a ceiling fan. Suddenly, these battlers were branded neo-Nazis, far-right extremists, and every other insult they could pull out of their inner-city thesaurus. Give me a break. And this is where Hanson stormed in like a pub bouncer at closing time. She wasn't having it. She stood up and said, "Hang on, you mob reckon everyday Aussies waving their flag are extremists? Are you serious?" And the chamber went off like a Friday night at the RSL. MC Kim was bouncing out of his chair, crying foul every 5 seconds. Labour MPs looked like they'd swallowed a dodgy prawn. And Albanese? Nowhere to be seen, mate. Missing in action. This is the bloke who's supposed to be running the country, and when it's time to show a bit of spine, he ghosts harder than your Tinder date after you mention you still live with your mum. The way Hanson laid it out, you could feel the frustration. Aussies are struggling, rents are through the roof, young families are living in cars, more tents on the streets than at a music festival, and immigration numbers going through the ceiling. But what do the pollies do? They pat each other on the back, chuck a few more bucks into some committee, and then lecture the rest of us about being inclusive while ordinary people can't afford to put food on the table. And if anyone dares to call it out, boom, shut down, silenced, labelled as some kind of extremist. That's why Hanson's rant hit like a sledgehammer. She didn't tiptoe around it. She didn't dress it up in political waffle. She called it what it was: hypocrisy, cowardice, and a slap in the face to the Aussies doing it tough. She looked MC Kim square in the eyes, didn't name him directly cause of those fancy pants Senate rules. But let's be real, everyone in that chamber knew exactly who she was torching. And MC Kim, bless him, just couldn't handle it. He was up and down like a jack-in-the-box screaming, "Order," while Hanson kept swinging. Honestly, I reckon he burnt more calories standing up for points of order than most MPs do in a whole year. But here's the kicker, mates. While all this was going down, while Hanson was copping interjections left, right, and centre, while Labour was shuffling papers, pretending not to sweat, Albanese was absent. The Prime Minister of Australia, the bloke who never shuts up about having conversations with the Australian people, wasn't even in the bloody room. Imagine that. It's like being the captain of the footy team. Game day rolls around, and you don't even bother showing up to the Oval. Leadership? More like a disappearing act. And Hanson didn't miss her chance to rub it in. She reminded everyone that while the so-called leaders were hiding, she was the one out there with the people, standing shoulder to shoulder with them, listening, turning up. And whether you like her or hate her guts, you can't deny that's the kind of thing Aussies actually notice. Because if there's one thing worse than a polly lying to your face, it's a polly who doesn't even show up at all. So there you go. That was just the warm-up. Hanson wasn't pulling punches, she was swinging like a heavyweight, and Labour was copping it on the chin. But this wasn't just a speech, it was a bloody demolition job, and by the end of it, you could feel the tension dripping off the chamber walls like condensation on a cold tinny. See you in the next one, and don't forget to smash that like button like you're shutting down another one of MC Kim's endless bloody points of order. And if you're as sick as Pauline was of watching Albo Ghost Parliament while Aussies are living in cars, grab the Who Voted for This shirt, wear it when the rent goes up, when the next protest gets smeared as extremist, or just down the pub when you're copping $9 schooners while the government tells you everything's fine. Stay sharp, stay loud, and never let Labour or the Greens take the flag, the voice, or the country we bloody love.